Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Oxnard Live. I'm your host, Daniel Chavez Jr. Tonight, we got a very special guest joining us tonight who I am very excited to learn more about. And he's definitely no stranger to Oxnard. We all see him, the creator of Citizens for a Better Oxnard, the public comment speaker during city council meetings and committee meetings. And he's just all over the place. But there's still a lot of questions. Exactly who is Manuel Herrera? Well, tonight we're going to find out in three sections. And again, because Oxnard Live is all live and fully interactive, if you have a question for Manuel, be sure to type it in the chat box on our YouTube channel and share with friends, because I'm pretty sure there's other people that have questions. I know I do. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our guest tonight, Manuel Herrera, creator of Citizens for a Better Oxnard. Manuel, thank you for joining us tonight.
Daniel, hi, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me. When you asked me to be on your show, I was obviously honored, but I'm like, why would anybody want to know about me? So I'm not a politician or anything like that, but hey, let's see how this goes, okay?
Now, you weren't scared or nervous or anything, right? It was just shocked as to why.
I was all of the above, scared, nervous, like, what about what if people ask me questions and I can't answer them? But no, but with all my experience at talking in front of the city council, I'm sure I'll do okay.
You should be all right. I'll try to go a little easy, not too easy, but I'll be a little nice tonight. But again, I'm super happy that you're able to join us tonight. There's a lot of people that always ask the questions like, who is Manuel Herrera and where did he come from? Why is he so vocal? And others known you for years and years, and they say, yeah, that's Manuel. But let's find out where it all started at. Who is Manuel Herrera? So tell us, where were you born and how was, rewind. We know that you were from Oxnard. Yeah. So tell us, how was it growing up in Oxnard? Where were you interested in growing up?
Okay, well, I always tell people I was born, raised, and will die in Oxnard. I love Oxnard, and that's why, that's one of the reasons, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but one of the reasons I'm so active in the community is because I genuinely love Oxnard. I think it is the best place to live. The weather is fantastic. We're far enough away from Los Angeles, yet we're close enough to, if you want to go for the day and come back, same thing on the other side. We got Santa Barbara. On the other side, we have Ojai in the mountains. The other side, we have the beach. This is the perfect place to live as far as I'm concerned. But to answer your question, I was born and raised in La Colonia. And I come from a family of 12. And if you add my mom and dad, that's 14. And we grew up in La Colonia in the housing project there on Bernarda Court, actually. And what's funny is that my mom had 7 girls in a row because they were trying to get a boy. They wanted, the Mexican macho thing. My dad wanted a son, so he tried and tried and tried and kept getting girls and girls and girls and 7 girls in a row, and then finally he had me. And then I guess he was so happy to see me that he had 4 more kids, and they were all boys. So he had 7 girls in a row and 5 boys in a row. And so, we grew up, like I said, in La Colonia. And back then, that's how it was. I thought my family was pretty big, but I literally know families and grew up with families that had 14, 16, 18 kids. That's just the way it was back then. And then my dad was the only one working because my mom was obviously home taking care of the kids. So my dad literally had 3 jobs. He had a day job, a night job, and then he was a musician on the weekends. So he literally worked 7 days a week. And even then, he needed help. So we actually grew up with, on welfare with food stamps and surplus cheese and, the rest and stuff. But, but that's how it was back then. And, but, but that actually helped me quite a bit to grow up that way because, you get to learn what it's like to be poor. I mean, and it's funny because I never really thought I was poor until I started growing up and meeting people that didn't live in La Colonia and saw what they had. And I'm like, oh, damn, I guess we are poor. But that helped me appreciate, social programs and stuff like that. And so anyway, so that's I grew up, born, raised in La Colonia.
Wow. Needless to say, the lines for the bathroom must have been super long.
Exactly.
Now, so growing up, you're seeing other families, they're large, just as yours, maybe even, and as you mentioned, there's some that were even larger than yours. And even though your father, worked hard to provide for his family, there was that assistance that was needed. How was it when going to school? Because I believe the only school that was probably in the area was the old Oxnard High School, unless there might have been another one.
Well, first of all, I went to Juanita Elementary School, and most people who went there were also from La Colonia. So that's why I didn't realize I was poor when I was in elementary school, because we were all, neighbors and friends and everything. It wasn't until I went to junior high, and that was at Fremont. I went to Fremont Junior High, and that's when I started meeting other people, other kids my age, and started realizing, the difference, between the way they were brought up and the way I was brought up. And then for high school, I went to Channel Islands High School.
Okay, so then I'm just gonna have to go ahead and end this interview.
Yeah.
We're rivals in the sense because I graduated
Uh-oh.
from Wainimi High School, and so I think this is the end of the interview. But in all
Well,
seriousness,
I dated a girl from Wainimi High School. Does that count?
we'll go ahead and give you an honorary pass for
Okay,
that.
there you go.
So what was it like experiencing? Because like you said, you didn't really notice it at Juanita Elementary, but it wasn't until Fremont Junior High where you started to really examine, like, okay, I am not in amongst the normal people that I was in elementary. What type of feelings was that like to experience that in junior high?
Well, what's funny is that when and I don't know any other way to explain this, so I'm gonna just say it the way it is. But that's when I really started meeting white people, and and it's funny because I remember I just automatically, when I met Caucasians and realized that how much more they had than I did, I automatically assumed that if you're white, you're rich, and if you're Mexican, you're poor. I mean, again, that was just the mentality that I had growing up. I mean, as I got older, I figured everything out. But, and then, and the reason I knew they were rich as I looked at it was because, sometimes after school, I'd get home and then I'd have to go with my mom to go get all that surplus food, and we had to wait in lines and everything. And when I met, white friends at Fremont who didn't have to do that, I'm like, wait, don't you get surplus cheese and welfare and all that? And they didn't, and that's when I started, connecting the dots and realizing that, there's different groups of people, but again, and the reason I even bring it up, because trust me, some people, when I tell this story, people are like, you shouldn't even talk about that. I mean, aren't you embarrassed or anything? But I'm not. I mean, this is the way it was. And, and actually my goal growing up was to get out of welfare, get out of food stamps, make it on my own, be successful. So it actually motivated me to be the person that I am today. And because, and let me jump ahead a little because you were probably going to ask me about my community involvement, but one of the reasons I'm so actively involved in my community is because I look at it as paying it forward. you know um, Again, when we were growing up, there was all these social programs that were there to help us. And I remember the CBs from the naval base would come over on Christmas to deliver turkeys and presents and everything. Matter of fact, I remember when that first started happening, and people would arrive with gifts and food and everything. And I remember asking my mom, I'm like, Mom, I thought we were poor. Where did you buy all this stuff? And she says, oh, no, mijo, they're giving it to us. This is free. And I'm thinking, who would give stuff? I mean, if I had all this stuff, I wouldn't give it away. I mean, that's what I thought back then. But then when I started realizing that these were people who were trying to help the less fortunate, that it stuck in my head. And that's really one of the main reasons why I do what I do. Is I'm basically paying it forward, trying to help the less fortunate, and doing everything I can for my community.
You bring up a great point in regards to certain individuals telling you that you should be embarrassed of your upbringing. I talk about it with a few people. My upbringing. I am the oldest of 4 boys. My mother is a single mother. She had to work 2 to 3 jobs. Back then, minimum wage was the federal, like $7.25. Many times we would be left with a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, and a dozen eggs. And that was kind of what we had to get by with, very limited resources. Yes, my mom had the assistance, but at the same time, it was just not enough. And very much like you, it motivated me to want to do better. And I use that also in my advocacy, very much like you, using that for the advocacy, because I've been there.
Right.
So when we are talking about our low income families and our homeless and all these individuals that, are on the bottom of the spectrum, I've been there. I know how it is. So I don't know if it is for you, but when people try to attack my character in that sense that I have no idea what these people are going through, it bothers me, because I've been there. I grew up there. I did that for 10 years, 12 years of growing up like that. So I don't know how you feel about it when people make that attack your character and make it seem like you don't know what those people are going through.
Well, and in a way, it's good that we're having this conversation so that people will know. And because, see, one or two things is going to happen when you're raised the way I was raised. You're either going to continue the cycle, and then you're going to be on welfare and food stamps, and then your kids are going to be on that, and et cetera. Or you're going to use it the way you and I did as a motivation to exceed and, get off of, these social programs and make it on your own. Because let's face it, that's why they're intended. That's their intention, is to give you a hand up, to help you. It's not to sustain you and keep you poor. I mean, a lot of people think that, but I don't. To me, it was, thank God. I mean, imagine if I grew up in Mexico. There is no welfare and all this other stuff. So you're poor, you grew up poor, you usually stay poor. But in the United States, there's programs that help you to advance and become a better person, a better member of the society. So yeah, I used it as a motivation, as it seems like you did too. So, but there are those that, and I have family members who continue the cycle and they're on welfare and they're, but I mean, to each his own. I try not to judge anyone, and, but no, I used it as motivation.
That's awesome. I want to talk about, so now you graduated from Channel Islands High School. What was next for Manuel Herrera after high school?
Well, I actually, and again, since you're doing an interview, and just gonna be honest. And actually, that's the only way I know how to be, right? Just direct and honest. So I actually, when I graduated from high school, I actually had a scholarship to go to Northridge. And I was ready to go and I was excited and I was going to be the first member of my family, to go to college and everything. And then my father got in trouble. And since I was the oldest of the boys, I had to make a decision. Either I go to Northridge and focus on that, or I get a job and help the family out because you know, my dad took a trip for a little while, a little vacation for a while. So I literally had to give up my education to help the family out and get a job and so I didn't fulfill that part of the dream of being the first one in the family to go to college. So, but I mean, that's how it works. That's what happens. And so because I didn't do that, I started just working and I had a job, and my first job was actually at Lunsford Toyota. That's probably way too young for you. I don't know, but it was on the corner of Oxnard Boulevard and Woolley Road by 5 Points, across the street from Gabo, the restaurant. And there was a place called Lunsford Toyota. I was a lot boy there. My job was to clean the cars and wash them and detail them and stuff. And I just had little small menial jobs because again, my family needed money. So I never went to a university, never really went to college. So, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's one of those things that many individuals are faced with, trying to assist their families. So they'll put education to the side or, other career ambitions. And because definitely in Oxnard, we understand the value of family. So
Yes.
we'll always do everything to protect our families and support our families as best as possible. So after that, the lot boy position, what ended up happening? What was the next steps? Kids, wife, what happened after that or during that time?
Well, I had the regular job, and then we waited for my dad to come back from his vacation, and then when he did, they were here for a little while, and I was at home, and again, just having regular jobs. I worked at the Lobster Trap. I worked at a Dial Finance. I don't think that place is around anymore, but it was a financial institution. So I had just those kind of jobs. I was actually a car salesman as well at Hal Watkins Chevrolet. Again, I don't know, that's probably before your time, but so I just had those kind of jobs. And then my family decided to move to Fresno. So they took off, but I didn't want to go to Fresno, so I stayed here. And then I got a job at Apex Aerospace. Again, I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it was an aerospace company here by the airport, and I worked there for a while. Then I got married and had a son and everything. So then I continued with my life, and as an adult, and that's it.
You only have the one kid?
Yes.
Okay. Any grandchildren?
No.
No?
No.
Well, I guess everyone else could be your grandchildren, right?
Well,
I'm not aging you. I don't mean that to be mean or sound mean. I'm sorry.
No. Actually, my girlfriend has grandkids, so, and I really love them a lot. So I look at them as my grandkids.
And I apologize. I didn't mean it to make it sound like that. I can honestly say that a lot of these places that you're listing are not things that I'm familiar with. My images of Oxnard, I was born in '89, so Oxnard was
Oh wow, yeah,
very different, even between yourself and myself. So I'm curious now. Your family moves away. You continue to live your life here in Oxnard. So born, and then you're still in your adulthood, still living here in Oxnard, had a family. Um, what motivated you? Well, before I get into that, what was your community involvement in the community as your son was growing up?
Okay, so it started with me trying to teach my son about giving back. So when he was just a little kid, I used to take him to go feed the homeless, like on Thanksgiving and stuff, because I wanted him to learn what it's like, to give back. And although by no means was I rich or anything, but I wasn't, on welfare. I had a regular job. I had a home. I was a successful person in that sense. And although he wasn't rich, but I still wanted to instill in him the, the ability to give back to people and help the less fortunate. So as a kid, I used to take him to go feed the homeless on Thanksgiving and stuff like that. So that's how that actually started. But then I remember one time, because I'm a big boxing fan, right? I used to go to La Colonia Boxing Club as a kid. I never actually fought, professionally or anything. I had a couple of amateur fights, but that was it. And then, I moved out of La Colonia and the whole bit. But then I remember reading a newspaper article where Thomas Hearns, he was a middleweight champion of the world, or welterweight champion of the world. And he was going to come to Oxnard to do a fundraiser for La Colonia Boxing Club. So there was a gentleman by the name of Fred Block who was helping to have fundraisers to raise money for La Colonia Boxing Club, because they were going to shut it down because it needed, tons and tons of funds to repair. And so he actually brought Thomas Hearns to Oxnard, and I read about it. And I said, oh my God, I got to go check this out. So I was there. And then at the end of the fundraiser, he made an announcement and he says, look, we're looking for volunteers to help. We need to have fundraisers. We need to raise money. If you're able to help and volunteer, please come see me, at the end of the show. And so I thought about it and I thought, all right, let me step forward. So I introduced myself to him and told him, hey, I actually grew up in La Colonia. I said, look, I'll dedicate 6 months, maybe 8 months to help you out, but that's about it. And he says, okay, fine. Well, 20 years later, I eventually became the president of La Colonia Youth Boxing Association. I became the publicist for the club. I mean, I just, started doing everything I could to help the kids from La Colonia Boxing Club. So, and that's when actually I had met Mayor Manuel Lopez, is because we were looking to raise funds and because no one was really doing this at the time. I mean, other than Fred Block, he was trying to do as much as he could to help raise funds for the club. But like when the kids would win and they'd win tournaments, I'd say, hey, do you guys have a publicist or something that gets the word out to the media that you guys are winning all these silver gloves and golden gloves? And they go, what's a publicist? And I said, okay, well, so then I became the publicist. I just started calling the newspaper saying, hey, we have these kids here that are doing a fantastic job. Can you come report on them and everything and all that, kind of stuff. So then when they started making it, then I remember asking them, hey, do you guys have any like publicity photos where, when we have these fundraisers and you're a Golden Gloves champion, maybe you can sign autographs to these people and raise funds that way. And they're like, no, we don't have any pictures like that. I go, do you guys have a photographer or something? They said, no. So I went out and bought a camera and became the photographer. So whatever was needed is what I just did. And just, that's how I slowly got involved in everything, how I met the mayor, how I became, a photographer, if you will, and a publicist. And it was just like if it doesn't exist, you just create it and then just move forward,
That's awesome. And, I can't recall if it was you that told me this or somebody that told me this, but there is a significant reason why, as you see down the street or right next to City Hall, the Lopez building. And that was Dr. Lopez, Manuel Lopez's building.
Yes.
And I can't recall, and let me know if it was you, but that the reason why he wanted that building was so that the kids that were coming over the bridge, going to school, or anywhere in the city, that they would see a Hispanic name, a Lopez name, on that building, so that it would motivate them to do better. Again, I can't recall. Was that you that told me that?
Well, that is a true story. I have told it many times. I don't remember if I'm the one that told you, but yeah, that's true story, true fact.
Okay. I just, that stays with me. And most likely it was you, because me and you, we've talked multiple times before. So most likely it was you that told me, and that always stuck with me the whole entire time, that, you know, here comes this mayor, the longest serving Oxnard mayor. And he has his name on this building to be able to motivate others to do better, to give back to the community. And he definitely did. So,
Yes, and
respect to him.
I just wanted to say that he was a huge boxing fan, and he was a huge fan of the youth. And so when I would hit him up and say, "Hey, Mayor Lopez, we're gonna have a fundraiser. We're gonna be having a barbecue, and can you come and just make an appearance and say a few words? And then after that, if you want to leave, you can leave." Well, he would come over and say a few words, but then he'd put on an apron and flip burgers and stay there for hours helping out. So, matter of fact, he recently passed away, and so I actually petitioned the city to add his name to the building of La Colonia Youth Boxing Club. So my petition wasn't to change the name, because La Colonia Youth Boxing Club is iconic and everybody around the world has heard of La Colonia Boxing Club. So I didn't want to change the name, but I wanted to add the name. So it's going to be La Colonia Youth Boxing Club, Dr. Manuel Lopez Youth Center. So, and that was in honor of him. He was an amazing man.
Yeah, and if you recall, there were two students at a local school here in the city that was successful in changing the name of their school. And it was actually named after Dr.
Yes.
Manuel Lopez also. So I
Yes.
believe it's the Dr. Manuel Lopez Academy, or Academy of Arts and Science. But they're just reinforcing that legacy that he pushed on. I had the privilege of meeting him a few times, and great guy, and his wife is as well. So La Colonia, you now you're the publicist, you're the photographer, you're the president. So you're doing everything for this boxing gym. Fast forward a little bit, now it's 2016. A lot of election stuff are going on. We are once again trying to fill 2 city council seats, the mayor's seat, the city clerk, the city treasurer. Social media is a big thing. And you did something that now the Facebook page is nearly 8,000 likes. Tell us what motivated you to create the page that everyone knows you for, Citizens for a Better Oxnard.
It actually started, like you said, during that election. And I remember I was on the campaign committee, to elect Bernie Sanders as president. And I don't know if you remember, he came to Ventura College, had a big old event there. So I helped with that event. And during his speech, he says, "Look, I can't do this alone. Even if I become president of the United States, I can't do it alone. I need people to do their part. And I challenge each and every person that's here today to do their part in whatever you can do, either run for office or, just do something in your community that's going to help, with the cause, And that actually stuck with me. And I remember when I would talk to people and ask them about our local elections. And for example, I asked the person, hey, so let me ask you, who are you going to vote for city council? And they would give me a name. Oh, I'm voting for so-and-so. And I'd say, oh, okay. I go, can I ask why you're voting for them? And some of the answers I got were amazing, like just blew me away. I couldn't believe it. One answer was, well, the reason I'm voting for this person is because he's my brother's uncle's nephew's neighbor. And they told me to vote for him. So I'm going to vote for him. Somebody else told me, oh, the reason I'm voting for this council member is because I saw all the pictures of all the different candidates and this person looks like the most honest. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, are you serious? And the one that really blew me away is I asked several people who answered the following answer. They said, well, I'm voting for this person because they have the best looking yard sign. And I'm like, oh my God, no wonder we're in the mess that we're in. This is their criteria for picking a city council member who makes all the big decisions that's going to affect the lives of every citizen of Oxnard. And I say, you know what? People are so misinformed. People need to get informed. So, and then I remembered Bernie Sanders and what he said. And I said, okay, what can I do to fix this? And that's when, I thought, hey, social media, I'll create a Facebook page. And, it's all in the name, right? So I thought, okay, what can I brainstormed, tried to come up with a name. That's when I came up with Citizens for a Better Oxnard. And so that's when I created it. It started with, I remember inviting a couple of people to join, and it was 3 people, then 4 people, and like you said, now it's almost 8,000 members. I don't advertise or anything, so it's all grassroots, so. And the whole intentions of Citizens for Better Oxnard, because as you know, there's a lot of haters out there, man, and I hear it all the time. And oh man, you created this page so that you can force people to think the way you think, and this. And I said, no. I said, look, it's intended to inform the people, because the best citizen is an informed citizen, right? That's our tagline on Citizens for a Better Oxnard. So I just want to inform the people. I want to give them the information. Then do with it as you wish, make up your own mind. I'm not here to tell you how to vote or anything. You vote any way you want, but at least get the facts straight. And, if you're going to vote for somebody on city council, at least know why you're voting for them, not because they're your neighbor's, uncle's, friend's, relative, I mean, so that's how that started. And now, like you said, I have over 8,000 people. Many members of the city council go on there and interact with the people. The chief of police goes on there, interacts with the people and everything. So it's turned out pretty good. So I'm actually very proud of that page.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a hub of information, events going around, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic. That was really a good hub for people to learn how they can get back to the community, how they can get assistance for themselves. And it, like you said, there's a lot of people that are involved in it. The chief of police, the city council members, there's even harbor commissioners from the port. There's even council members from other cities that are participating also, just because of the fact that it's such a good opportunity to reach a large group of members. But it hasn't always been the easiest page. There's been a little heated debates that transpire on that page. People feel they're being censored. Here's your opportunity to talk about that. Talk about the whole idea that they're being censored. And then you mentioned it, that you want, that there are people that believe that that they want, that they have to think like you. But as you mentioned, that's not your intention. So talk about that as to, why do people feel like they're being censored, or that they can't have an open discussion? And believe me, if anybody who's nearly 8,000 people who have been on that page knows that there's some instances where it gets pretty aggressive with the comment sections.
I definitely welcome debate. I actually encourage it. But, there's a difference between having a constructive debate and and then there's the difference between people just going on there to vent or to complain. And I constantly tell people, look, if you're coming on here just to vent, then maybe this page is not for you. I go, however, if you want to come on here, if you have an issue, a complaint, or anything, and you really want an answer for this, and you want to discuss it with other people and get different points of view, you're welcome. Go for it. I've actually had to kick many people out. And I've warned them, like, hey, there's some people that go on there and they vent and they vent and they vent and they complain, and all they do, and what good is that? So I tell people, look, you're either going to be part of the solution or you're going to be part of the problem. If you're going to be part of the problem, we don't need you. But if you want to be part of the solution, you're welcome to be there. And so I have kicked a lot of people out. I've gotten a lot of bad feedback for that. People feel censored. But at the end of the day, again, there's a purpose for that page. And I've been on other pages where all people do is complain. That's all they do. Who wants to hear that? A complaint is just a complaint unless you follow it up with a solution. And, we fixed a lot of things. I remember one guy came on there and he was discussing a park that was right by his house. And he says, that the park was being neglected and, I don't know what to do about this and everything. So I got a hold of a few city council members. They looked into it, the whole bit. Next thing you know, a couple of weeks later, it was all fixed and everything. So those are the success stories. That's why this page was created, because a lot of people don't know who to contact. They don't know who to reach if they have this problem or that problem. But then it kind of was starting to backfire, because then people were calling me to fix their problems. So then finally I said, okay, look, I will guide you on what to do. I'll tell you who to reach, who to contact. I'll check to see, because now we have districts, right? So I would tell people, like, reach out to your council member. This is the one that handles your district. Now, if you don't get a response or an adequate answer from this person, then call me and I'll call them and let's see what we can do, So little by little, it's working out good. It's still in existence. The page is still growing. So I must be doing something right. So that's good.
No, definitely. That's awesome. And again, like I said, this page is really like an information hub, because obviously not everybody has the answers. But when you pose the question like, hey, who do I reach out in regards to this? Who do I get in contact for this or that? You'll see it blow up in like 15 minutes. There's like 20 comments of people saying, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this. Right. And it's like, awesome. That's community involvement. And like going back to the name, Citizens for Better Oxnard. Yes, we don't want people just to complain about everything, because it's easy to complain. It's easy to critique. It's harder to come up with a solution. Right. And even if it's a solution that may not even go anywhere, but if you're able to pose that solution, others are able to give their feedback, and then it could be a viable solution later on. Yeah. So yeah, clearly something is going right, because the page is still going around. And like I said, it has nearly 8,000 likes on it. I don't know how many are actually following it, because the following always ends up being a higher number than the actual likes. But that's great. Mind you, in a city of over 207,000 residents, there's still more people to reach out to, but it's slowly getting there. I want to ask, because there has been a lot of chatter on that Facebook page, and you have even teased it a few times about potentially running for city council, running for mayor. Even people have gone and said, Manuel, you need to run for mayor, or Manuel, you need to run for city council. And there was even one where you posted a picture of former council member Herrera's yard sign. Yeah. And do you plan on ever running for office, or is it something that maybe is in the future, but not right now?
Well, you know, you're right. I've first of all, let me answer it this way. I do not want to be a politician. Okay, I do not want to be a politician. However, there were a lot of people that came to me and says, "Hey, why don't you run for city council?" And so forth. And at first, I'm like, "Nah, I don't want to do that. I'd rather be on the back end and do what I do and go to city council." And because the way I look at it is, if I become a council member, then you got to act differently. I can say whatever the hell I want to say, and I'm only accountable to myself right now. But if I'm a city council member, I got to be careful what I say, how I say it, who I say it to, and everything. So, but then if I become a city council member, then hey, I'm able to make decisions that are going to impact people. So I kind of weighed the two, like, what should I do? What should I do? So then when they had districts, right? So then when Carmen Ramirez was going to run for supervisor, I thought to myself, you know what? If she wins, that's going to open up the slot, and she's in my district. So then I thought, maybe that's the opportunity that I'm going to need to put my hat in the ring. So my intentions were that if she won as supervisor, Carmen Ramirez, then I was going to run for her spot. All the time thinking to myself, but I really don't want to do this. I don't want to be a politician. I think I'm more beneficial doing what I'm doing now. But then I had a conversation with Gabe Turan, and I was telling him about thinking of running. And then I asked him, I said, Gabe, you should run for city council. You would be an amazing city council. And he goes, yeah, well. And I said, well, what district are you in? And then he laughed and he goes, I'm actually in your district. And I said, what? He goes, yeah, I'm in Carmen Ramirez's district. And I said, I didn't know that. And I don't think a lot of people know. He goes, well, I never told anybody. And I said, well, why don't you run? And he goes, well, you said you were running. And I said, oh, no, if you're going to run, I'm not going to run. I said, look, I think you're the best person for the job. I mean, I admire you. I respect you, as do many other people. And I go, and trust me, and this is me speaking, like, no offense to myself. I said, but you would be the better candidate than me. I said, I will gladly step aside if you run. And please, will you run? I think you would make an amazing council member. And so he said he was going to think about it and everything. And then so he decided to run, and I endorsed him. And I think he's doing a fantastic and amazing job. So to end that question you asked, I'm 63 years old now, and I think my years for running for city council are over. So now that Gabe is in, and hopefully he'll get reelected and then get reelected again. So hopefully he'll be there for a while, and I don't have to worry about running. And I'll just continue doing what I'm doing right now, and just continue to be the person I am right now.
That's awesome. Let me ask you, because for District 2, a few months ago, as you recall, right here on Oxnard Live with my co-host, Wendy Leon, former VC Star reporter, we held a candidate forum for the applicants that were in the appointment process for District 2. But prior to that, at that city council meeting, the city council was really split and torn as to the process to fill that empty seat. There was 3 parts. There was the full out appointment for the 2 years, a special election, which means for 1 year, there wouldn't be any representative. And then the hybrid option, where they would appoint somebody but then have the special election. As I mentioned, there was a lot of people from District 2 saying, no, you have to allow the residents to choose. It shouldn't just be an appointment. Council members were feeling the same thing. So it was a lot of torn, and a lot of the votes kept getting canceled out. What was your position on how that District 2 seat should have been filled? And do you
Look,
believe the council made the right choice of doing the hybrid?
yes, I do. Now, actually, I wanted them to elect the person that and not have another election in November. You know how this coming November there's going to be another one. I wanted them to just go ahead and elect somebody now that's going to stay for the full term. But the best compromise was to elect somebody right now, because that made the most sense. You know, I mean, put somebody in now, and then in November have another election. You know, so that did make the best sense as far as a compromise. You know, so that way, I mean, that's what compromise is all about, right? Is you look at all the different avenues you got, all the different options, and then you can't please everybody, so let's come up with the best solution. So at the end of the day, the right decision was made.
So let me ask you, because like you mentioned, you are accountable to yourself. I'm not saying that you're just wild with your words. You know, you think before you speak. But do you believe the city council and the mayor, the city manager, are they all doing their job the correct way? Or do you believe that they're not doing what they need to be doing and need to be pushed out?
I believe that obviously the reason that we got into the mess that we got into was due to past administrations. There was a lot of mistakes made. There was a lot of errors made. But I honestly believe that the current administration, which includes the current city manager, our new mayor, Zaragoza, our new council member, Gabe Turan, and then the rest of, Brian McDonald and the rest, I think they're actually perfect right now. I think that's a great team, and I think they've been doing a great job. Now, I don't know if you remember this, Daniel, but when the city manager was hired, we were facing a budget crisis at the time. It wasn't as big as it is now, but we were starting to be in a deficit. And when I heard they were going to hire a city manager, and then I saw, I did some research, and I saw they were giving him moving expenses and car allowance and this and that. I'm thinking, wait a minute, we're in a budget deficit right now, where they want people, they're going to be having layoffs and this and that, but yet they're giving this guy all this moving expenses, $5,000 for moving expenses. I think it was 3 months rent, gym membership, car allowance. I said, nah, that's ridiculous. So when they hired him, and at his very first city council meeting, I don't know if you remember this, but it was a full house. Everybody was there to greet him and to welcome him. The Chamber of Commerce and business members, and everybody was there, and everybody was saying the same thing. Mr. City Manager, welcome to Oxnard. You're going to do a great job. We're here to support you, blah, 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 blah. And then it was my turn to speak. And, and I remember thinking about this, like, oh my God, should I do this or not? And I said, you know what? Because I try to calculate everything I do, based on what I feel the consequences are going to be. And I said, you know what, I got to do this. So I went in front of the city council on his very first day, and I welcomed him. I said, hey, I welcome you. They say you're going to do a great job. I look forward to that. But let me tell you what I don't like. And I started listing everything. You know that you were given $5,000 for moving expenses. You were given a car allowance. You were given a gym membership. You were given this. Did you know that we're in a budget crisis right now? I think you should give that stuff back. I think, your salary, well, there's nothing I can say about that. We want to hire the best person. I'm not complaining about your salary, but I'm complaining about the perks that you're receiving. And I don't think that's right. And you should have seen his face. Like, he's like, who the hell is this guy? Because again, everybody was there to greet him. And I was there to tell him, hey, give this stuff back, man, you know? But I said, one of two things is going to happen. Either he's going to say, who the hell is this guy? Keep him the hell away from me. I never want to see this guy again. Or he's going to respect what I did. And he's going to know that I'm sincere, because it was nothing against him. It was the fact that, you know, right is right and wrong is wrong. And if we're in a budget crisis, then why are they giving the house away to this guy? So then, you know, when I was done, I turned around, I'm walking away. The whole place was quiet. You could, you know, hear a pin drop and everything. And I'm thinking, oh my God, you know. Well, Daniel, I think it was 3 or 4 days later, I get a call from the city manager's secretary. And she says, you know, I'm calling to tell you that the city manager would like to meet with you. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, you know, I said,
This is where you get kicked out of Oxnard. That's
yeah, I thought they were going to escort me out of town. And so I even asked, I go, why does he want to meet with me? And she goes, well, you'll know when you get here, you know, do you mind meeting with him? And I said, sure, no problem. So I went, I met with him in the whole bit, and we talked about everything, and I gave him my opinions in the whole bit and everything. And I got to know him. And I actually respected the fact that, again, it could have went one of two ways. He could have either said, get this guy away from me, keep him away from me the whole bit. But no, he respected the fact that, you know, I was there to tell him the truth, and, you know, and we talk often. We're always talking, and, you know, and I've had my disagreements with him. I've been to budget meetings. I mean, I'm sure you know that already, but I've debated him in front of the public and everything. But, you know, I think, though, his heart is in the right place. I think he's doing a good job. And, you know, he inherited a mess, but, you know, I think he's gonna he's doing a good job, and I think he's gonna do a good job at the end of the day.
If I remember correctly, I think he also offered you that gym membership. So he was trying to give something back, you know, so he offered you the gym membership. But I do recall that night. I really do, because like another like 10, 15 people down the line was my turn, and I kind of followed what you were doing. My complaint was more on the salary aspect, not necessarily of all the concessions, but mine was more in the salary. And I agree with you. He inherited a huge mess that seemed like there was no light at the end of the tunnel for a strong path. But I strongly believe that we are on the right path. We are doing good things.
Yeah.
And as long as residents continue to be involved, I think we are going to continue to be on a stronger path. And they gave a lot of trust. And I will say that again, they gave a lot of trust in the city manager, in the city council to pass Measure E, which is that sales tax. So a lot of trust. So let's hope, you know, it continues to build that trust. And, you know, of course, everyone's going to want to know, did you take the gym membership and have you been using it?
Well, actually, what I told him is, I said, hey, I actually have a gym in my house. I said, if you ever want to come train in my house, you know, I'll let you use my gym, you know. But
there you go. I want to transition to our next part. And these are some things that people may not know about you. Like I shared with you in the beginning, I hope I don't get sued for doing this, but there's two things that I want to share. And I want to try to get the feedback from people if they actually knew that you were part of this. So give me 1 second while I share my screen, because the first one should be real good for people to see if they knew it just exactly how it was. So let me go. It might be a little different because I'm not 100% sure how to do the audio. Oh, there we go. Share audio. All right. So
Manuel, a single father who grew up in the projects of Oxnard, California.
This is like a wish. This is like a dream. I couldn't even dream this stuff.
Kate.
how was that? How was that experience to be on a reality TV show?
Well, okay, so let me set this up. So there was a reality show called The Mole on ABC, and it was the main host of the show was Anderson Cooper.
Mhm.
And so what happened was, now this is kind of getting a little out there, but I don't know if you ever heard of the law of attraction, where whatever you put out is what you get back. And I was going through some really, really rough times. Like, I was going through a divorce. I had lost my job. I had no money, the whole bit. My car was breaking down. I don't know if you ever heard of Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker?
No.
No? Oh my God. You haven't heard of Tony Robbins?
Well, I maybe I shouldn't say no. Maybe I have, but
Okay.
I'm
sure if you saw a picture of him, you would know who he is. Anyway, he's a huge, successful motivational speaker. And when I was going through these hard times, I bought some of his tapes, that 30 days to success kind of thing, and on there it was talking about the law of attraction and how you can attract whatever you want into your life. And again, I was going through a divorce. I lost my job. My car was breaking down, the whole bit and everything. And so I actually applied the techniques of the law of attraction because I needed money. I needed to get another car and I had no money. So one day I'm watching TV and again, I'm applying all these techniques on how to manifest what I want in my life. And I saw this TV commercial and it said they're looking for participants or candidates to be on this reality show called The Mole. And I said, oh my God, that's it. If I can get on this show, then I can get the money I need to buy the car that I need. And that's going to greatly help me out. So, I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I was so determined to be on this show. I applied for it. I sent the videotape, the whole bit. At the time, I was working for GTE in Camarillo. And I remember going to work and telling people, hey, guess what? I'm going to be on a reality show. And they said, really? Are you serious? I go, yeah. And they go, oh my God, did you go to an audition and everything? I go, well, no, not yet. I said, but I'm going to be on the show. And they go, well, how do you know you're going to be on the show? And I said, well, because, the law of attraction. And I'm trying to tell them all this. And they're like, oh my God, this guy's crazy, but I really believed it. And I said, you watch, I'm going to be on this show and I'm going to make enough money to buy myself a new car. And they're like, all right, Manuel, whatever you say, and sure enough, lo and behold, they called me. I went on a 3-day audition. What it is you go on an audition. There was hundreds of people. And then they narrowed it down to 75 people. And then they narrowed it down to 50 people. And then, till finally they narrowed it down to 10 contestants. And I was actually one of them. And I actually made it on the show. I actually earned enough money to buy a car. So everything that I wanted to manifest actually came true. And then some. I even, through being on that show, I even went on the Rosie O'Donnell show, the George Lopez show, Access Hollywood, and all these other things. So I got my 15, maybe even 17 minutes of fame. And it was a great experience. And that was another aspect of my life.
Now, we shouldn't even say that it's a 15 minutes of fame or 17 minutes, because there's actually another thing. Now, this one I really love. There's an album that you did. what is the story behind this?
Well, you know, I always tell myself that, a person needs to rediscover themselves every so often. In other words, so many people, they get stuck in the same lifestyle and the same, they do the same thing all the time. Not me. I'm like, I'm gonna try something, a different adventure, do whatever I can. I'll milk it for as long as I can. And then it's on to another thing and let me rediscover myself there. And so this, as you can see, I was pretty young there. Um, I don't know. I decided to become a musician. I bought a drum set, taught myself how to play the drums. I met these other guys that were in a band. They asked me to be in their band. We recorded an album. Now, a lot of you youngsters probably don't know what an album is, but I recorded an album, and there you go. You have the front and back covers of that album. We actually did some touring. We went all over Southern California, Arizona. We did a tour and everything. It was really exciting. So I got to see what it was like to live the life of a musician.
That when I saw this photo, I was like, okay, where's Manuel? Where's Manuel? Oh, wow, there he is.
It's the short guy.
It's the short one, but I thought it was pretty amazing. So you kind of had like a celebrity lifestyle, Now, did your friends and family know? Did people recognize you throughout town after the album, after your debut on the reality show and George Lopez, Rosie O'Donnell and everything?
Yeah. Obviously the most fame, if you want to call it that, was when I was on The Mole. And I remember when it first aired, and then I remember I went to Vaughn's, the Vaughn's over here on Rose, and I'm pushing my cart there, and people were just staring at me. And I remember thinking, why the hell are these people staring at me? I even looked down, I had my zipper down, or what's going on, man? Like, until finally this lady came up to me, she goes, "Excuse me, are you Manuel from The Mole?" And I said, "Oh my God." I go, you saw that?" She goes, "Yes." And then she started calling people, "Hey, you guys, come over, look, it's Manuel from The Mole." And they even asked me for my autograph. And I'm like, come on, what are you gonna do with my autograph? Like, it's not gonna be worth anything. And they're like, no, please give me your autograph. So I literally signed autographs. I mean, they're probably in the trash now, but it was an experience. It really was. Now, what really blew my mind, because it's one thing to be in Oxnard and people from Oxnard, recognize you. But when I went on the Rosie O'Donnell show, she flew me and my son to New York. And I'm at the airport, and we're waiting for the car to pick us up. And then all of a sudden I hear my name, like, Manuel. And I turned around, and it was some guy. And then he goes, "Hi, Manuel." And I go, "Hi." I go, "I'm sorry, do I know you?" He goes, "Oh, no, you don't know me, but I know you. You were on The Mole, right?" And I said, "Oh my God." Oops. I said, "Oh my God." I go, "You recognize me?" I go, "Where do you live? Do you live in Oxnard?" He goes, "No, I live here in New York." So people from all over the place were recognizing me. It was a trip. It was fun and everything, but
Would you ever do another reality show, or was that kind of like a one-time deal? We're not going to see you on the Bachelor or anything, right?
The Bachelor.
Or Bachelor,
I don't
whatever.
I don't think they have a senior citizen version of The Bachelor, nor would my girlfriend appreciate that. So, but I did apply for Survivor, but they never called me. So
Really?
yeah.
Wow. What about Fear Factor? That was a pretty good show.
Yeah, no, that would have been cool. That would have been cool.
Awesome, Manuel. Again, thank you for being here with us tonight, opening your world and, really running us through the times. is there any final comments, final words that you want to share?
Yes. For whatever it's worth, and whatever it's worth. But I just want to say to whoever's listening, if anybody, is that, I hope this interview will inspire people to go out and do whatever they can for their community, to never give up in life, just continue to reinvent yourself. I mean, I've done a lot of things, but it's because I made the opportunities available for myself, and I look at people, like yourself, Daniel, who, I'm old. I mean, I'm still young, but to you guys, I'm old. I'm 63 years old. You guys are the next generation. You, Gabe Turan, Angel Garcia, Chris Hernandez, all these are the next generation. And, I just want to lead by example, and I want to just try to do whatever I can to help motivate people and just get them to do whatever they can to help the community. It's all about paying it forward, so it's not about being famous. It's not about, although I appreciate all this, all the research you did here, but it isn't about me. It's about helping the other person and lifting the other person. Again, I grew up poor. I grew up on welfare and everything, but I'm no longer there. My goal was to go beyond that. And I just want to lead by example, and hopefully I can. You can't, please everybody. There's going to be people who don't appreciate what I do or my attitude or any of that, and that's fine too, but to you, I wish you a lot of success. When you first ran for mayor, it was, and I remember talking to you, and I remember after talking to you, I remember thinking to myself, I thought that you're probably thinking to yourself, who the hell is this guy, man? Trying to give me advice and everything. But, it's just that I really liked you. I admired you. And I thought, hey, for whatever it's worth, let me tell you what I think, blah, blah, blah. So, but so just people keep doing what you're doing, make a difference in your community, because at the end of the day, we can't do it all alone. We have to inspire people. We have to do whatever we have to do to help the less fortunate and to make Oxnard the city that we all deserve. So thanks for giving me a platform to say all that.
Of course. And yes, we joke about it. I get a call from you and talking about like, why are you jumping into the mayor's seats and blah, blah, blah. And I remember that conversation, and just for the public to know, in 2016, my intentions were to run for mayor, but then I ended up switching and deciding that maybe city council will be a good start. And after that, I still continue to be active, and, I now get to serve on multiple boards that represents residents of Oxnard. Yes. It's been a very, very long time that an appointed member on the Ventura County Transportation Commission was from Oxnard. There hasn't been one. They've been from everywhere else, but and the first Hispanic appointed to that commission. Yeah. There's been, of course, the elected officials that go to there, but for a citizen representative, I am the first, and that's because Oxnard deserves to have those seats at the table. So that's my motivation of always trying to do better. And, it's getting in contact with people like you that really help motivate me to continue doing more. And I always appreciate your support, Manuel. I really do. It makes me a better person. And I always turn to you for advice and guidance because, well, you've been here longer than me. You know how things work. And, of course, my rationale is always like, go at it. But,
yeah,
there's been a few times that you told me, hey, just slow down, think about it.
Well, for whatever it's worth, and if you don't mind me saying, I'm very proud of you. And, You're doing some great things. And I actually look forward to endorsing your next run for city council. So hopefully you will pursue that. We need people like you. So
no decisions yet, but I am enjoying my time right now of, serving on these commissions and boards representing our residents. So it's always a benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, Manuel Herrera, the creator of Citizens for Better Oxnard, as you saw, reality TV star, recording artist, all around community advocate for the city of Oxnard. Be sure to join us next week as we have the Rescue Mission join us. Clayton, he'll be talking about the services that are provided by the Rescue Mission and how they are supporting our community and the homeless community as well. That is right here on Oxnard Live at 4 p.m. And if you haven't done so already, which I'm not sure why you haven't, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you'll always be in the loop. But hit that notification bell so that you actually get an email or text message that says we are live. Always be sure to visit our website at oxnardlive.net for upcoming guests and past episodes. And like our Facebook page. We are nearly at 500. So thank you to all of those that continue to like our page. One day we'll be nearly 8,000 like Citizens for Better Oxnard. Manuel, once again, thank you for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Daniel Chavez Jr. This is Oxnard Live, all live and 100.